What is going on, Washington Commander fans? This is JD coming at you with We Hail, YouTube channel dedicated to the Washington Commanders. I haven't posted in a while, and I'll explain why. For those of you who do not know, I have had my second child, so that's part of it. It is time consuming. So that's one part. Two, the way I was doing content before, which I may do some, but not to the degree I was doing it. Sorry if it's angled weird. My screen's right here, and if I look in the camera, it just looks weird to me. So I'm just looking at my screen. So the reason why I hadn't posted pretty much all season is one, like I said, having a child, it makes it very difficult to post during peak hours, like hours where you normally would probably post like during the day or even at night. Having two children and working full time. I do work 45, 50 hours a week because I'm a district manager for Comcast. So I do spend a lot of time doing that. It is a large portion of my time. So a lot of my content making. So if you don't know, I have a gaming channel. And I'm not shameful about that at all. I play video games, and I think most people do. So in my gaming channel, I can wake up at 4 in the morning and make content because it's just gaming. I can just game it, film it, and put it on. But posting stuff like this, I used to do that driving to work, going to work every day. And the problem I would have is I get too emotional about it. I am very emotional about this team. I'm very invested in the outcome of this team. It drives me, and it kills me when we lose. It really does. Like, you can't talk to me for like 2 or 3 days. This is how I am. And in that 2 or 3 day span, if I start talking about the team and how we're losing and whatnot, it just really gets to me, and you're gonna hear me get some emotionally worked up in some ways because it matters that much to me. The success of this team matters that much to me, and it really does affect me. And I'd be making a video, and it'd be about 30 minutes long, and I'd be talking about it, and all of a sudden I'm at a point where I'm like screaming at my phone while I'm driving in traffic to work. So yeah, this is basically how I was putting out the content. So hopefully this is a way I can actually kind of, because I'm staring at myself, I can see myself getting emotional. If I get too emotional, I can kind of calm myself down. So that's why I wasn't posting for a while. It's just too hurt to talk about this team whenever the problems, that as a bunch of Washington fans, there's a bunch of us that, especially as YouTubers, we come up with solutions to problems, and we don't understand why they're not obvious solutions to the people running the program. Okay? Ron Rivera never actually seemed to care about fixing certain problems. He just put band-aids on them and moved on, and never understood that these are long. He tried on some things. I gotta give him that credit, but he just made wrong decisions instead of making no decisions. So, the best thing to do in a situation is the first thing to do is the best thing. Second thing to do is the wrong thing, and the worst thing to do is nothing. So he doesn't do the nothing part. He does the wrong part, which is him trying, but it's just, decision making is not good. So in this video, I do want to talk about what Washington needs to do this offseason. Now, I'm going to go in more depth with more different videos, but more or less, I'm happy that Ron Rivera's fired. I will be honest, I did not like him as much as Jay Gruden. Whenever Jay Gruden got hired, I was excited about Jay Gruden. Very excited about Jay Gruden. The offense that he had with Cincinnati, what I thought he could implement. But the difference between Ron and people will say what they want, but I'm going to give you my opinion on it. The difference between Ron and the difference between Jay is Ron got to make all of his decisions with his personnel, with who his GM was. He got every decision he could possibly make as a football coach and some, and still didn't succeed. And Jay Gruden was handcuffed by Bruce Allen and still had winning seasons. I don't think Ron had one winning season. 8-1 was his best season, I think. So it's not like, he had like a 10-6 season or something great. I mean, neither did Jay, let's be fair. But Jay consistently, I think the team was more consistently better than it was under Ron. And Jay, like I said, was handcuffed by Bruce Allen. Dan Snyder and Bruce Allen would pick his team, wouldn't let him draft his players, wouldn't let him sign his own free agents. He basically handed him a team, say go, and then they would also restrict him when it came to who had to play. He would tell him who to start at quarterback. Excuse me. They would tell him who to start at quarterback. They would tell him, you're going to play this player. you're going to tell him you're not going to play this player. You're going to screw up your relationship with your best offensive lineman, so he has to get traded. We're not going to sign your best offensive lineman, your second best offensive lineman. We're going to franchise tag him forever. We're not going to sign a quarterback. We're going to franchise tag him forever. Okay, that wasn't done under Ron Rivera. Ron Rivera was able to sign players because he got to make those decisions. And he didn't sign bad players. I'm not saying he like John Allen and Deron Payne, Terry McLaurin, those players are good. He brought in some decent free agents, but ultimately he makes decisions on coaching and everything else, and he just wasn't able to put together a winning team at all. And he got to make all the decisions. So in my opinion, I think Jay Gruden would have been better. Jay Gruden made every decision, would have been a lot different, and I think would have been a lot better. Is that me advocating for hire back Jay Gruden? No, I'm not. But I think Jay Gruden was a way better coach than Ron Rivera ever was. Like I said, Jay Gruden was handcuffed by management, by the upper management and the owner, whereas Ron got to do whatever he wanted, whenever he wanted. Hire guys, draft guys, sign guys, bring in his own people for defense, etc. And he just never matriculated into success. Okay. Ron Rivera tried some things. He tried quarterback wise. He tried going with the first year he went Alex Smith. Second year he tried going with Fitzpatrick. Now we don't know if that would have been a great or bad one, but if you just not signed Fitzpatrick, gone with Taylor Heineke, signed a backup, and then spent the other $10 million that you spent on Ryan Fitzpatrick on the offensive line, probably could have at least won one or two more games. Just saying. Probably could have won one or two more games with a better offensive line, with blocking better for passing and running. Could have got a better defense potentially. So there's a lot of things that could have been done to make the team a little bit better. And maybe got a better linebacker because our linebacking core sucked. So on and so forth. So that year, that's like a decision that I think was costly because not only did we not get anything out of Fitzpatrick, got like maybe 2 series out of him, but $10 million definitely could have been allocated towards someone or something better. Then the next year, instead of just sticking with Taylor Heineke, we went with Carson Wentz. I get the allure of going for Carson Wentz. He's a quarterback that was an MVP caliber player at one point. And here's I don't mind that, but then you didn't follow up the trade and the money spent with good decision making. Like you had Scott Turner as offensive coordinator, which I didn't like Scott Turner from the get-go. I think I've been very adamant on this show, on this channel, about how much I hated Scott Turner. And honestly, Eric Bieniemy wasn't much better, and I'll get to that here in a little bit. But Scott Turner had no understanding of flow of football. He doesn't understand how you set things up, how you use momentum. He would constantly run plays that kill momentum. But what he would also do is didn't understand how to make players successful. And this is also Ron. Ron should recognize things like this as a football coach, as someone who's played football. He should have recognized that the way you make Carson Wentz successful in the games in which he was actually successful, this happened, is you got to get him on 3-step drops, get the ball out quick, make a quick decision for him, and if it's not a quick decision for that, have him throw the ball away. Okay, our first game of the season, we played Jacksonville Jaguars. He had 4 touchdowns and 2 picks. Whenever he was dropping back 3 steps and getting rid of the ball very quick, or like a shotgun catch and throw, he was matriculating the ball down the field very fast. And we were also running to balance that. Okay? Scott Turner gets tendencies where he's like, oh, well, look, and in the second half, we because the defense is cheating up because of all these short passes, he's able to go for bombs. And Scott Turner, because Scott Turner doesn't understand football, he doesn't understand that he set that up by having the short passes. It's like, oh, we'll just do 7-step drops and throw the ball deep every time because Carson Wentz can throw 70 yards through the air. Well, now you're getting sacked 9 times a game. So it's a lack of understanding by the offensive coordinator, and then the head coach. I don't know if Ron just never tried to understand it, or maybe he did and Scott Turner doesn't listen. I don't know. Either way, it's still a dereliction of duty, because if he's not listening, fire his ass and put someone else there that's going to call the plays the right way. So that's how you don't use Carson Wentz properly, and then you fire Scott after 3 seasons of sucking. Okay. 3 seasons of inadequacy, 3 seasons of him not being able to use talent correctly, him not being able to understand momentum in football. After 3 seasons of that, you finally get rid of the guy. And then you bring in Eric Bieniemy. Now, I was all about the Eric Bieniemy hire. He's definitely a creative coach. I'm not taking some things away from him. But Eric Bieniemy has a long way to go before he's going to be a head coach. And the reason why is he also does not understand flow of football. He does not understand momentum. He does not understand how you are supposed to develop and protect a young quarterback. Okay, first off, offensive line. Ron Rivera never built the offensive line. He never fixed the offensive line ever. He just hired old guys that other people have cut and was like, we'll put them in here. They were good at one point. They can get good again, right? Nope. You can't make people more athletic. You can't make old guys younger. And if they were cut by somebody, there's probably a reason for that. It's more or less the best way I'll put that. And that's putting it nicely. But, yeah, if someone's getting cut, there's a reason for that. And you put a horrible offensive line in front of Carson Wentz. You put an even worse one in front of Sam Howell. And then your offensive coordinator decides that Sam Howell needs to throw the ball 40 times a game. He has to have 7-step drops all the time. Never get the ball out quick. You don't have a balanced running game. That was one thing that was a knock on hiring Bieniemy, is no running backs get a lot of yards under him because he doesn't like to run the ball. Hell, they were reporting this, the Beltway podcast with JP Finley and Mitch Titchler. They were reporting this in the offseason, that this summer they were not running any run plays, and they didn't run any run plays pretty much till the first preseason week. So that's why the running game was pretty much non-existent. It had some good stuff, and you have you have multiple good running backs. I'm not gonna lie, Chris Rodriguez is good. You have Robinson's good. I'd say Gibson's very good, and we have a fourth one, Williams. He's good too. So I thought we had a very good running back core. There's no reason not to run the ball. If we had bad running backs, I'd say that, but it's not like a Rob Kelly year or something like that, or Helu Jr. or something. It's not like we had like a second-tiered running back that would be like a third stringer on another team. These guys would start somewhere in the league if they were put on another team. So I have a cough drop in my mouth. If my lips look very red, that's why. I've been sick the last couple of days. So, yeah, and Eric Bieniemy, that hire he is creative, but he also doesn't target how getting these guys the ball. He does not know how to get guys involved. He knows how to create fun plays, I'll give him that, but he does not understand how to set things up with the short passing game. Doesn't know how to set things up with a running game, etc. He doesn't know how to scheme to help your offensive linemen. Obviously, that's very obvious. Like last year, Scott Turner sucked at it, and we just doubled down on having a bad offensive line this year. So, yeah, I'm not happy with a lot of things Washington did this year. I could talk about the season all year, but the first thing I'm going to address is our quarterback. I think Sam Howell is the guy. I really do. If you look at Sam Howell and you go back and watch game film, you watch all the games, Sam Howell looks the part. He has the arm. He has the acclimate. He makes a lot of the right throws. I think what happened with Sam is, one, he got sacked too much. Okay, he got sacked 68 times. Okay, no one's going to argue with me that's being sacked too much. Now, a lot of people want to say, like, oh, he got sacked too much because, he's holding the ball too long. Okay, if you're holding the ball too long, it's because you have to go through the play's development, and you have to go through your reads. If the reads take longer to develop, you're going to hold the ball longer. Okay, get rid of the ball sooner. Get him on play action. He does really well on rollouts. Okay, there wasn't that many design runs for him, which I think is a huge fail on the part of Eric Bieniemy, because Sam Howell can run the ball very well. Okay, he got a lot of scramble yards this year because he has the ability to. He's elusive, but he's also not unathletic. He's fast enough. He's not the fastest quarterback, but he's fast. He's athletic. He can run with the ball. He takes care of the ball pretty well when he runs. Okay, and the problem with Sam Howell this year was the pressure, and they never fixed that problem. Okay, and the way I know this is because if you look at his interceptions, he had 21 interceptions this year. 12 of them were either tip balls or they were him getting hit while he threw, which threw off the pass he was trying to throw. Okay, there were some he threw bad passes. I'm not going to take that away from him. He's a rookie quarterback. This mistake going to happen. But the guy never had clean pockets. I can watch other games, and if you in the comment section you feel differently, comment. But if you watch other games, I've watched other games where quarterbacks sit back there, 4 seconds, 5 seconds, 6 seconds, I watched our game against the Bears. And the Bears aren't a good team. And Justin Fields sat back there and had 7 seconds to throw consistently. Consistently 7 seconds to throw the football. And I was like, if Sam Howell just had anywhere near 4 seconds to throw the football, he would probably be fine. There's times where he got to his 7-step drop and he'd be getting hit. So I'm not gonna sit here and say he wasn't responsible for some of his sacks, but he wasn't responsible for all of them. I'm not gonna sit here and say he wasn't responsible for some of his interceptions. Okay, everyone's human. Everyone makes mistakes. Okay, but this is why this will lead to the next thing I want to talk about, which is head coach. Who are we gonna bring as head coach? So there's a couple options I have. Ben Johnson is the offensive coordinator for the Detroit Lions. Now he won't be able to be pursued until after the Detroit Lions are out of the playoffs. But I think you got to get a head coach that has some way of relating to a quarterback and placating to a quarterback. Ron Rivera has zero way to do that. Okay, Ron Rivera has zero impact on how good or bad a quarterback will be. Zero. Okay, we need a coach that will have an impact on that. I think there's another one named, I think his name's Bobby Slowick. He's the offensive coordinator for Houston. And the reason why I like him is because CJ Stroud was a rookie this year and put up like 23 touchdowns and 5 picks. Okay? That's someone I want to handle a rookie quarterback, a young quarterback who's developing. Sam Howell has officially started a whole year, so he's no longer a rookie going into the next season. A lot of people forget that he is a rookie 5th rounder. A rookie 5th round pick who's put in the start at quarterback. He had 0 time to play last year. He should have played half of last year, honestly. Okay? He had 0 time to play last year. He played all this year. They never protected him. You don't get sacked 68 times on accident. Okay? There's a reason for that. Now, you're going to, a lot of people say, oh, it's the quarterback. Okay, so is Carson Wentz. Okay? So an offensive line got worse, and there's more sacks on the quarterback. So either we just draft quarterbacks or sign quarterbacks that just really like getting sacked, or we just did nothing with the offensive line, and we did nothing with the offensive line. Okay? We spent 2 draft picks this year on 2 defensive backs that pretty much did nothing for Washington. Emmanuel Forbes was a waste of space. Okay? And Quan Martin actually had some things I would say are okay, but he really didn't play most of the season, though. Last game of the season I think it was a pick. Yeah, he got a pick, but that's because of the tip ball at the line. Nothing really he did great. He's, found the ball. So there's 2 picks we had where we could have spent offensive linemen, and we could have had 2 tackles to replace garbage Cornelius Lucas, or not Leno. Cornelius Lucas isn't any better. He's a solid backup, but he's not a starter. Like, I'm watching the game against Dallas, and Cornelius Lucas is getting in his freaking running back's way when we're trying to convert a 4th down. His fat ass is in the freaking way. It's just not blocking anyone, just running into our own running back. Okay, and then the Andrew Wiley, who we hired at signed at right tackle, was garbage. Okay, these are not solutions to problems. They are band-aids on gunshot wounds. And the way that Washington needs to spend this next season. So, head coach-wise, those are the 2 head coaches I would like. I would like an offensive-minded head coach that's going to coincide with our quarterback. Now, here is something that every Washington fan needs to understand. We fall into this trap all the time. Okay? We draft a quarterback before we have the means to, protect the quarterback. Okay? We have a quarterback on our team that is our franchise quarterback. Sam Howell is the guy. Now, everyone's talking about, draft a quarterback. Okay, I'm going to state this, and everyone's going to freak out. And everyone will freak out, get mad, whatever. I don't care. Caleb Williams will be a bust. He will be a bust in the NFL. Okay? The reason why he will be a bust, if you watch him in college, yeah, he looks good, and then as soon as he has a bad game, plummets. Okay? The guy does not handle adversity. It's why he went from Oklahoma and had to go to USC. Oklahoma, he was doing great. They were like 6-0. Has a 2 interception game, and from that moment on, he played like trash, or like a mediocre quarterback the rest of the season. Okay? Same thing at USC. He's 2 years in a row at USC. Yeah, he looks talented. He's very talented. But I have a Trey Lance vibe about him. A Trey Lance vibe, which, everyone in our fan base, not a fan base, but there's a bunch of other YouTubers out there, and I'm not going to mention who, were, screaming from rooftops, go get the Trey Lance, trade up for Trey Lance, and look how horrible he's been. Okay, the same people were yelling for Malik Willis, and look how horrible Malik Willis has been. Okay, those guys aren't even playing on rosters right now. They're not even playing. Malik Willis has been replaced. They went back to Ryan Tannehill, and then they drafted Will Levitz, I think that's what his name was. So they've already planned to replace him because he's that bad. Yeah, Liberty University is not the place to draft a quarterback. Neither is North Dakota State. So maybe that's not the best way to build a team through Division II football players or Division III football players. Probably not the best way to do that. So there's this, and Caleb Williams is a Division I athlete. He's a good enough quarterback, but I'm telling you, he's gonna be a bust. Someone's gonna get him. He'll have okay numbers occasionally, but he will not be the franchise guy everyone's saying. It's not gonna be a CJ Stroud. It's not gonna be like Patrick Mahomes like everyone thinks. He is a bust. The guy from LSU I think is gonna be a little bit better, but I don't think Washington needs to draft a quarterback. I think we have a quarterback. What we need to do is we need to invest, I'd say, as much as possible this offseason, money, draft capital, whatever, into replacing our offensive line. Everyone except Cosme can go. Okay, I don't dislike Nick Gates at center. I think he's pretty good. Actually, Tyler Larson, we're very good with Tyler Larson. I don't think Chris Paul is going to be a long-term solution at left guard, but right tackle, need to move on from every situation we have there, and left tackle, we need to move on from that. Right and left tackle need to be replaced immediately for sure. Okay, that's where a lot of the pressure came from for Sam. Up the middle, I'd still get a left guard if you can. Try to sign one. Center, I think you can go Nick Gates and Tyler Larson are okay. Those two are fine. I would be okay with those two, but left guard, I don't think Chris Paul is your long-term solution. I don't think Shadik Charles is a long-term solution. So what do? I think you spend your first pick, you trade back, hopefully like the middle of the first round, maybe and accumulate either a couple more second-round picks or maybe even a late first. So you have a middle to late first, and you draft O-lineman, and you build this offensive line, and you actually see what you have in Sam Howell. With what Sam Howell had this year, he still put up, 27 touchdowns? He had 6 rushing touchdowns, I think, and 22 touchdown passes. You know what, I'll just bring that up just so I'm not giving the wrong information over the interwebs. Okay? So give me 1 second. So I think the offensive line is what what Washington should do to fix their problem. The problem is their offensive line is bad. And that stems so many different problems that require so many different solutions. Offensive line's bad. Your offensive coordinator is going to have to scheme around that rather than scheming to defeat the defense. Offensive line's bad. Well, now your quarterback has head on a swivel all the time rather than being able to just focus on plays downfield. Okay. So Sam Howell ended the season with 21 touchdowns and 21 interceptions. I just explained 12 of his interceptions have come from him getting hit while he threw the football or the ball was tipped at the line of scrimmage. Okay. He had 3,946 passing yards. Okay. He probably would have more than that if he wasn't benched twice. Okay. There's touchdowns that were taken from him because he was benched by Ron Rivera. I'm going to go back and look at what the passing yards were for what's his face? Okay, I'm not at that point yet. Okay, I can't do that. So by Jacoby Brissett, which I hate the fact they brought in Jacoby Brissett. Jacoby Brissett was a $10 million backup who did nothing. Okay, he came in and played in some games. Cool, we didn't win any of those games, and all we did was mess with the psyche of our franchise quarterback. Good job, Ron Rivera. You did a great job there. On top of that, Sam Howell had 263 rushing yards. He had 5 rushing touchdowns, so I was wrong. I thought it was 6. So he had 26 touchdowns, and he had 2 fumbles, 1 for losses. So he had 22 turnovers and 26 touchdowns. Okay, take away half those turnovers because tip balls and getting hit while he threw. Honestly, some of the interceptions weren't his fault either because receivers bobbled and bobble it to a receiver or a defender or whatever. So you can't credit him all that. I can mention a couple off the top of my head that were not his fault. So if you give that guy who had almost 4,000 passing yards, which he would have had more if he would have been taken out of 3 games at halftime, he'd had over 4,000 pass yards, probably had 1 or 2 more touchdowns. Okay, you give that guy who got sacked 68 times, 65 times, 68 times in his career, but 65 times, you cut those sacks in half, get down to like 30, 32, 33, whatever, and he's got, that's 33 more options to throw the ball. He definitely got over the threshold there. Okay, you give that guy an offensive line. He's proven that he can throw dimes. He's proven that he can pick apart a defense. Give that guy 6 seconds to throw the football. Give that guy 5 to 6 seconds to throw the football. Give that guy an opportunity to scramble around and find guys open. And he's proven to do that. And I don't think we're going to have to spend a first-round pick on a quarterback. First off, let's just be honest here. This is something that we all need to understand. And this is, if you don't understand this, watch a little bit more football. You might understand this. There are so many guys that get drafted in the first round of the NFL draft that don't end up being first round caliber quarterbacks. They're taken too high. There's hype around them, and people get all excited, and they just don't live up to expectations. Okay, there's a lot of quarterbacks that this happens for. We've experienced it ourselves. Okay, may rest in peace. Dwayne Haskins was not a first round caliber quarterback, but he was drafted in the first round by Washington rather than us taking any other player other than him. Okay, RG3, he was a first round caliber, but we didn't handle him correctly, we didn't manage him correctly, and he ended up being a bust. Okay, we're going to do the same thing, because we're going to draft Caleb Williams, if that's what people want, is Caleb Williams, and we're not going to support him. We're not going to put him in a situation to be successful by putting him behind an offensive line. Sorry, my cough drop is just finishing up. We're going to put him behind an offensive line that's not good. He's going to get sacked 60 times just like Sam Howell. And then we're back to square one, where we have a quarterback that's not doing well because the things around him aren't well. Okay, Sam Howell had this disadvantage. He had a bad offensive line. He didn't have a bad running game. The problem is the running game was never established by the head coach or the offensive coordinator. Okay, he has good receivers, but I'm going to argue that this is the worst year of Terry McLaurin's career. Okay, he was horrible this year. Okay, he dropped so many passes this year, and some were in big games. There's some, I think it was the Eagles. He dropped some big passes in big parts of the game, and they were critical. They were very critical. He dropped 2 back-to-back that I know of. I think it was the Eagles game, but he had a bad year. He had a bad year in my opinion. Okay, and the rest of the receiving core wasn't great either. Tight ends weren't great this year. A lot of guys dropping passes, a lot of guys bobbling passes that are wide open, so on and so forth. So he had some. Sam Howell definitely had some things working against him. Okay, receiving core wasn't great this year, even though I think our receiving core is good. They just weren't great this year. Tight ends weren't great this year either. Logan Thomas is a solid weapon, but he fumbled the ball like 3 or 4 times this year. Okay, running backs I think are good, and actually running backs fumbled the ball a decent amount this year too, putting the defense in bad spots. And then the defense was just god awful this year. So, I mean, I can say what I want about Eric Bieniemy not running the ball, but when you're down by 17 points before the first half's even over, you kind of got to pass the ball a lot to get back into it. So, there's a lot of reasons why a lot of things worked against Sam Howell this year, and he still put up 4,000 passing yards. He still had us competitive in a lot of games. I think he deserves another year. And what Washington should do, and I know the emotional fans out there are going to want a quarterback because Sam Howell threw 1 pick and oh my god, he's the worst thing ever because we're overreactive. No, be logical. Sam Howell was good. He was solid. Let's put things around him that are solid, and we'll see how he probably is going to get better. Okay, from last year to now, he's significantly better. Okay, you give him another year offseason of development with a better coach, and it's going to be a drastic difference in that as well. Okay, that's just my opinion. I straight up think the way you fix this offseason is you go all in on rebuilding this offensive line. If that means you got to draft 2 in the first round, and then you got to sign 2 in free agency, then go freaking do it. Okay? Go do it. And then build depth, or whatever the case may be. It's up to you. That's what I would do. And then you got to build this defense. You got to get another linebacker in there that can actually play linebacker. Okay. I think a better coordinator would probably fix the problem. I think their scheme is just god awful. It's just layback. It was just layback and put everything in front of you, and it's not an aggressive scheme at all. No offense feared our defense, other than running the ball. Like, it's just like you got big hog mollies up there. Even when we had Chase Young and Montez Sweat, which I'm glad they're both gone. Okay, they didn't want to re-sign here. It's a big cap, and we got some compensation for it. I'm not saying they're glad they're gone, like they never participated. I wish we'd have kept Montez Sweat. I think Chase Young was a one-year wonder, and then he never did anything after that. He's a selfish player. And the way I mean by selfish, I don't dislike Sam. The way I mean he's selfish is, instead of doing things the way he was asked, he did things his way. His second year here, I could sit here and watch a game film with anyone that wants to. And we can watch the Buffalo Bills game. We can watch a whole bunch of games. And he's just over-pursuing because he's trying to do what he wants to do, and it opens up all these huge lanes for if we're talking about the Bills game, for Josh Allen to just run through or to scramble until someone gets wide open, and it was just bad. And he continuously did it all season, and there was no course correction, whether that's coaching or whether that's just him. Either way, one of them has to still put their foot forward and say, I'm not doing well, help me here, or hey, you're not doing well, let's fix this. And none of that happened, which is probably part of why Ron's not here anymore. So, but that's what I would do this offseason. It's a commitment to offensive line. Anything else beyond that, we don't need more receivers. Everyone keeps talking about drafting Marvin Harrison Jr. Why? We've drafted receivers. We've signed receivers. We have receivers. We don't need more receivers. That's not the problem we have right now. The problem we have is offensive line. People just want to look at these sparkly, amazing things out there, like, ooh, sparkly, new shiny thing, and let's go do that. No, what doesn't need to happen is that. What we need to have happen is Washington needs to be in a position where they have an offensive line that is good. And then next year is about seeing if Sam Howell is the guy long term with a new head coach, whether that's an offensive-minded head coach like Ben Johnson or Bobby Slovic. I'm probably pronouncing the name wrong, but I don't want to look it up while I'm on here. I already looked up Sam Howell thing, and it took dead time, and I don't like doing that. But the offense coordinator for Houston, if you want to know. And the reason why I want him is C.J. Stroud was a rookie quarterback. He minimized his turnovers, minimized his sacks, and he had over 20-plus touchdowns. That guy can clearly work magic with rookie young quarterbacks. Let's bring that guy in and have him help with this young quarterback. That's why I want him. Ben Johnson worked magic with Goff. Now, Goff is a seasoned veteran, so that's a little bit different. But maybe he can do wonders with Sam Howell. So that's why I want that. We have to have something that builds our quarterback, and then someone that understands how to build around the quarterback. The Detroit Lions, so I'll give an example why Ben Johnson's great. Detroit Lions have a top 5 passing offense and a top 5 rushing offense. Okay? That's balance. That means their offensive line's solid on both sides or both facets of being an offensive line. Pass blocking, run blocking. Okay? Talent everywhere. There's talent all over the Detroit Lions. We have talent everywhere. That's why I think Ben Johnson would be a great fit here. Or Bobby Slovic if we can't get Ben Johnson. So, defensive coordinator, I'm not particular. I'll be defensive coordinator. Whoever the head coach gets, they're going to hire their own guy. I just want someone who comes in with an aggressive scheme. That's why Mike McDaniel is actually, I think it's Mike McDaniel. He's the defense coordinator for the Ravens. That's why a lot of people want him as head coach. Now, I wouldn't hate it. The problem is I just want our quarterback developed. I want someone who's going to come in and take the quarterback position serious. Ron Rivera took it serious, like finding one, but not providing all the resources to make that quarterback better. Okay, that's what Ron Rivera didn't do. He was like, oh yeah, we got to find a quarterback. Matt Fitzpatrick failed, but at least I tried. Wentz failed, at least I tried. Sam Howell, I think, was a model of success, but I didn't put an offensive line in front of him to protect him, so meh. So that's how I see the offseason going. We need to do that first. Before we do anything else, the priority needs to be offensive line and a head coach. I think the head coach should be offensive oriented, okay, and get a good young defensive-minded coordinator that's going to come in and make this defense aggressive instead of this half-ass sit back and let everything come to us defense. So I've rambled on for 35 minutes, so I'm going to go ahead and end this video with this. I plan on putting out more content. I'm excited about putting out more content. I will be doing a lot more of this stuff. Okay, it'll be more like this. It's not going to be... I might do a couple of the voiceover things, but probably more as shorts than anything. I made a proclamation this year that this is the year of Sam Howell, and I think I saw enough from Sam Howell to think that he is... I think he's going to be our franchise quarterback. Now, again, if you don't think he is, it doesn't help to draft the quarterback if you don't build an offensive line to protect the quarterback. Okay? Let's take a year and build the offensive line. If Sam Howell sucks next year, guess what? We draft the quarterback after that. Now we have everything in place to go forward. If you don't think Sam Howell's the guy, I think he is. I think Sam Howell's proven to me he's the guy. What has been proven to me is we were kind of all enamored by Eric Bieniemy, and I actually think Eric Bieniemy made some adjustments. I really do. There's some games he made massive adjustments that may end up getting us wins or getting us close to wins. But I don't think it just wasn't enough to compensate for the lack of talent on the offensive line. It really wasn't. And to compensate enough for how bad the defense was. And how bad how much defense would give up. And you were kind of forced into a situation where rather than trying to have a balanced offense or even attempting to do that, we kind of had to throw to keep ourselves in games. And sometimes it just made the matters worse because we never set anything up. Teams just sit back. They could send 4, and the offensive line was so bad. And you got a young quarterback trying to pick apart a 7-man defense with only 4 or 5 receivers at a time. So, but that's my video. Like, share, subscribe. I do have a Twitter. It's Washington Command Post, or I think it's We Hail now. I'll double check. I'll check it right now. I haven't posted. I really just look at stuff on there. And what's it called? Commander J Plank. So that's what it is. At Commander J Plank. So let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Doing more videos like this. What do you think? Do you agree, disagree, whatever? Comment down below. And hail to the Commanders. And hail to you guys. See ya.